If Disney feels comfortable advertising children's movies, those are good indicators that Twitter is a good place to advertise.
You moved to Texas, then you went back up to San Francisco because of Twitter.
The pain level of Twitter has been extremely high. I sold a lot of Tesla stock to close this deal.
If McDonald's or Coca-Cola thinks that they want their ads up against, I don't know, swastikas, they can do that.
Pressuring advertisers is essentially a tactic of like, let's hit them where it hurts.
The thing about censorship is for those who would advocate it, just remember, at some point, that will be turned on you.
He should be more careful. But this is a reckless individual who ended up bringing us into the era of electric vehicles.
Tesla was the most shorted stock in the history of stock markets. They wanted Tesla to die so bad they could taste it.
This is one of the most interestingly complex persons around.
My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted, broadly inclusive.
They want to turn us into factory farm humans so the globalists can have the future.
Globalists are short-sighted. The bravery that's required to resist the globalist oppression has to happen now. I'll answer the question.
Your heart is always in the right place. You are trying to fix this world.
A good sign as to whether there's free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
In America, sometimes we think binary. Hero, villain.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself. Go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tesla Fix. Of course, the Cybertruck had a huge impact on the whole Tesla story. And today we want to dive into that topic of the Tesla story. Did it change? Of course, Elon being on X and tweeting stuff all the time and being so verbal as a CEO also has his caveats. We're going to dive into this a little bit. That's why I have a very special person to look into all of this. Let's see who it is. All right, Ross, great to have you here again. We've talked last year. Yeah, it was pretty interesting to talk about, of course, the Tesla stock and the Tesla growth story. And now it kind of shifted a little bit. Controversies also going on Twitter and everything. And of course, being a huge voice in the Tesla community, maybe you can dive a little bit into this topic, and then we can like transition to the overall Tesla story that we still have.
Thanks for having me, by the way. And I think there's been a lot of confusion created by the fact that Elon has, gone down the path that he has. And I was going to post this morning, but I was busy. It was a 2-year chart of Tesla. So it was really 2 years ago at this moment in time where Tesla was doing everything right. Like everything was going well. Mm-hmm. The Model Y was growing like crazy, and Austin and Berlin were ramping, and it was, I was like, this is the smoothest and best things have ever been for Tesla, and the stock was at $400 plus, and the expectation moving forward was that Tesla was going to do $4 in earnings in 2022, and it was trading at 100 times earnings, so a really high multiple with all the expectations of growth that were 50%, growth rates to the sky, which was sort of what Elon pushed us on. And that was as good as it's been for the last 2 years, because what was actually happening was Elon was beginning a process of selling off a substantial amount of Tesla stock in 2022, which caused a 75% decline in the stock price, to then purchase Twitter at a period of time where there was a lot of turmoil within Twitter. And throughout 2022, he spent selling stock and negotiating to buy Twitter, not focused on Tesla, but focused on really trying to get out of the Twitter deal, which unfortunately, because of the way he approached the Twitter deal, he couldn't get out of it. So the irony of the situation we're in right now was that he actually didn't want to be in this situation. He was just impulsive, like he is, and wanted to buy a company. Didn't do the due diligence, but then waived all due diligence rights. Didn't call me. I could have told him, because I had friends at Twitter, and all these problems were well known. Whether it's social manipulation, whether it's government requests, this is not new information. It was for Elon. As it turns out, he doesn't pay attention to a lot of these things that are crucially important when you're buying a company, like how many fake accounts there are, which are tons, and still tons on Twitter. So then by the end of last year, so about a year ago, I was really furious because I had lost, from 400 to 200 on 400,000 shares or so. That's like $80 million. So when you lose $80 million of profits, as my job is to represent shareholders, which we have probably well over 1,000 Tesla shareholders as clients, is to stand up and say to management and to the board, this is not correct. So I ran a poll. I said, do you want me to run for the board? 26,000 people voted for me to run for the board. And then I confronted Elon in December on Twitter Spaces, where we debated this. And this is where Elon said that he would not sell stock for at least another year, which is coming up this week. And I addressed some of the controversial things he had said at that time about the transgender and gay and lesbian community, global community, which were offensive. And many Tesla owners are gay. And I felt that it was inappropriate for him to, I know he has his own personal problems with his family, but he shouldn't be taking that out on transgender or gay people. And that's where it started a year ago. So now we're a year fast forward. And instead of talking about the Cybertruck all day and all night, everybody's calling me about Alex Jones. Okay. Now, I couldn't be more angry that the most impactful vehicle that Tesla has ever made, this car is like nothing that's ever been made. And the technology, which really showcases the next gen technology for Tesla, whether it's 48-volt architecture in the battery systems, whether it's the metals they're using, whether it's the charging systems that they're using, the battery packs, the amount of tech in this thing is insane. And anyone who doesn't get what the Cybertruck is, it's not supposed to actually be a mass-produced vehicle that will sell 1 million a year. That is not what the Cybertruck is. What the Cybertruck is a vision of the future. It's saying, here's all the technology we can pack into this crazy truck so that you can see what's going to happen over the next 10 years as we develop this technology through our entire system of cars that we're making. Okay. So when you're talking about just 48-volt architecture in the battery system, that has been a big thorn in the side of cars for a long time, which are crappy batteries. I can't even tell you how many times when I had a gas car, my battery would die. And this is actually a problem with Tesla as well, where their batteries die too. The 12-volt batteries die. So like changing this architecture so that the wiring and the efficiency is such a massive innovation. And we're not talking about this because we're talking about Alex Jones. So what's happened is that Elon's lost his focus from focused 100% on climate and space to now focused 100% on now trying to keep Twitter out of bankruptcy. And basically what he's doing is everything opposite of what he needs to do to keep Twitter out of bankruptcy. At the same time, today, they were talking about full self-driving, which I think is the most important software, AI software being developed in the world today is full self-driving. And it's not going well. Like we've reached a plateau here. So it drives pretty well. It drives like really well. I drive extremely challenging roads every day with LA's insanity. Like even the streets make no sense here. Okay. So like part of it is if full self-driving can do this, it can do anything, but it still can't. And that's my point is that full self-driving still needs somebody there overseeing it. And we've been doing this now for a while. And then Andrew Carpathy goes to OpenAI and Microsoft, head of Tesla, full self-driving. Where is Elon? Elon is in San Francisco at Twitter. And this is the problem. And then somebody's like, well, it's not like Elon sits in programs. No, he does actually. Elon's a radical programmer. He leads by example. He looks at the code. You don't think he's looking at the code of full self-driving? You don't think he's analyzing the code that these guys are writing? You don't think he's hiring the teams? Like, how do you build this consequential software? How do you build this vehicle? How do you make this all work as one human being when you're at Twitter all day? And so he's put these great people in charge. But we lost a great one this year, Zach Kirkhorn. We lost Andrew Carpathy. We lost another guy this week. Who did we lose this week? We lost somebody else good.
Yeah. I'm not sure the name. I'm blanking out right now.
So, like, long story short, I've had it. Okay, I'm an owner of a company
Yeah.
And the ownership is Tesla. And we pay Elon a comp package, believe it or not, that's worth $50 billion. So his comp package. Now, this is what really concerns me because the options expire in the next 4 years, and that's a $25 billion tax hit that he's going to have to pay. And he's going to have to sell stock to do it. So we've got $25 billion of stock coming on the market. We've got Twitter in bankruptcy unless he sells more Tesla stock. Mm-hmm. He's past his year of saying he wasn't going to sell stock. So, he's going to sell stock next year. I don't see any other way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and he's completely unfocused on what he needs to do to execute in a crucially important time for Tesla in a fairly difficult environment. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I've had enough of Alex Jones and Viveka Ram. It's like, honestly, like, we have no issue of free speech in America. The issue is there's too much speech in America. The issue in America today, in the world, is climate change. Okay? Climate change will destroy our Earth. Okay? Twitter has no relevance in regard to our future. It's been nothing but a negative for the most part. Social media has been a negative to society, like cigarettes. While solving climate is literally the most important thing for our species to do. So, like, for humans to exist in the future, and I'm sorry, we're not going to Mars anytime soon. So this idea that we're going to escape on Elon ships when the climate gets bad is a fantasy, okay? We live on Earth and we're going to be stuck here. So the only thing I care about is Tesla. And I hope people understand this because they're so busy ready to criticize me because I criticize Elon because Elon can't do anything wrong. So that's my sort of intro in that my main focus in my firm, in my life, is investing in climate solutions. Tesla is the most consequential company, and our CEO spends no time running that company. And if you don't believe me, watch the Cybertruck launch again. Watch the Cybertruck launch where he's standing in the dark, unprepared, reading some script he didn't memorize, and then throwing a softball at the window. What the hell was that? Why would they throw a softball at the window? It was like a steel ball.
Yeah, I know. I think the event was cut short as well. There was a serious threat of a shootout.
Yeah, then on top of it, some psycho is going to come like kill everybody there. That was never an issue for Tesla in the past. And this guy was like a real threat. He literally came to Austin and they intercepted him, thank God.
Yeah. And
also, that's a new reality for Tesla, I have to say.
Absolutely. I mean, you
can't put Alex Jones on and not expect this stuff.
I also think that's why the event was cut short. I think Elon freeballed it when going out, standing on the back of the Cybertruck, and then the lighting guy was like, "Oh my God, no, what's happening?" Or he did it to jump into the Cybertruck if anything happens. But I think that's why it was cut short. But I want to go into what you've said here because I think it was a good overview where you come from, how your sentiment changed about Tesla as well. I kind of get your point.
Well, like I'm in the Tesla community. I'm not in the Elon community.
I know. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I also kind of agree what you mean. We were in a phase with Tesla where it was so inspiring with, okay, we're going to have this technology here that's going to help to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy and everything. And we were in this kind of this innovation dreamland. And actually, it was like a warm thing. We've seen Elon as a leader in the sense that he wants to make an impact. He wants to make a change. In his interview, he was always very emotional when he talked about his passion, his vision and everything. So a lot positives. Then it kind of shifted to a different route there. The biggest question I have, of course, is what's the hardest thing to manage other people's money in that context? So you've already touched on that a little bit. Of course, that's horrible if the stock goes down because all your customers as well are deeply into Tesla and you promoted Tesla for a long, long time.
Well, many of these people are actually huge Tesla fans too.
Yeah.
Like he's hurting his biggest fans kind of thing,
Yeah, in some senses or some cases, I would disagree. I know the acquisition of Twitter, how it went through was totally
crazy.
S-show, you know what I mean? Because he backed down. I don't know if it was strategic or not, but I wouldn't say it was out of the hip in that sense. How it turned out was out of the hip, but I think the plan to have an acquisition of a social media company was in his books for a long, long time, I think.
Yeah, I think when you look at what he's trying to do with AI, he figured this is a place for data, you know.
Yeah.
Which is why I bought Twitter. It's a questionable source of data, though. That's the problem because it's so manipulated. But yeah, I see his vision. I invested in it. You know, I'm an investor in X, and you know, at the time, I'm like, whatever he does, you know, can't be that bad, right? Well, boy, he fooled me. But I think what it is to me, Elon can pursue whatever dreams he wants. I'm not going to be the guy to say, Elon, don't buy Twitter, don't do this. What I'm saying is that if you're the owner of a company, it doesn't matter what company it is, and the CEO that you pay, because Elon only owns 13% of the company. Okay, so the vast majority of the company is owned by institutional owners, people like me. Yeah. So whether he likes it or not, he works for the company, and he's the CEO, and he has a $50 billion pay package right now, which he earned. I'm not even griping, but I'm just saying, as a CEO myself, I have a full-time fiduciary responsibility to my clients and my firm. Okay, now I do other things too. I do music. I have a music company and this and that. But when push comes to shove, nothing takes precedence over my main business. And that's just the way it is. Okay. Now, I haven't built Tesla. I'm not Elon. Right. I've built a huge company. Okay. So, I know a lot of people don't understand, but I built a huge company by any standard. Okay. I'm very close with my family. I have lots of friends. I'm in the music industry. I have hobbies. I game. You know, it's like I try to have a well-rounded life. So I just don't understand what life he's living. And the life he's living is horrible. I mean, he basically works 7 days a week, 365 days a year, doesn't take vacations. Okay. Doesn't really party, doesn't have a girlfriend, he goes to these parties here and there, but you know, he's not Mr. Fun. You know, look at Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos on his $500 million yacht at Art Basel, you know, with weird shirts on and his girlfriend with extra big boobs. You know, it's like, look at Jeff Bezos. He's such a geek.
Yeah, but
he's on HGH. He's like, look at how strong I am.
Yeah,
You're not gonna picture Bezos.
but we have to be fair that I mean, he doesn't shoot right now. He doesn't shoot the rockets.
Hey, he's shooting rockets. He's shooting rockets too. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but
he's going after SpaceX. You know, I mean, it's not as good. Listen.
Yeah. We have to give it that.
Elon's the innovator of our time. That's not a debate in my mind. What it is I want him focused on like, hey, Tesla's the most important thing. But the bottom line is he's bored with Tesla. It's not the most important thing to him. It doesn't excite him. He doesn't spend time there. He does what he needs to do. That's what it is.
But I kind of disagree there, because if you look, I mean, okay, we have different layers here.
How many tweets does he tweet about Tesla versus Twitter?
Yeah, okay, yeah. But I think we have to segment this problem that's going on into two segments. We have the one side, which is the company and the company performance and the production numbers and the innovations they put out, everything they do. Yeah. Also, I would agree, XAI also is a part of that. I mean, if they crack the code in that sense, and you have a personal assistant,
he's screwing us.
Okay,
Come on.
I know.
This should be Tesla AI. Tesla has $26 billion in cash, sitting earning 5%, doing nothing. Okay. And he's out raising money instead of running Tesla for another venture that will help Tesla, but isn't owned by Tesla at all.
Yeah, but 0%. Don't you think he's going to merge that thing, all those companies together?
I don't know what he's doing, but it doesn't help me if I'm a Tesla shareholder.
I know what you mean. You have to see also the quarter
AI.
after
Tesla
quarter.
Should be owning it. Yeah. Tesla should be building its own clusters, its own, the Tesla screen is perfect for an AI companion. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And
so
I think,
who's in charge of marketing at Tesla? Who's the chief marketing officer? Why aren't we on Super Bowl ads Cybertrucks, Model Ys discounts. Why aren't we all over the world advertising everywhere in Germany, billboards, get your Model Y, why pay for gas, why support Putin? They should be selling Teslas like it's no tomorrow. But instead it's Alex Jones, it's Adolf Hitler, it's Kanye. It's like the worst humans he could surround himself. Next thing you know, he's going to be hugging Trump, who then goes out and says EVs are a piece of shit. So it's like he literally courts the people who go out the next day and say, don't buy an EV because we're all oil people. Okay. He literally is supporting big oil, whether he realizes this or not, because all those people, Alex Jones and the rest of them, go out after and say, don't buy one of these green EVs for the woke people. They're woke cars. So he sells woke cars. And then I hear somebody tell me that now all the Republicans and the conservative people are going to buy Teslas because of Elon. And I was like, no, they're not. No, they're not. So we sell woke mobiles, and our CEO could care less about selling one of them.
I get your anger, but do you really think that that this has such an impact in the short term and middle term? It has an impact, of course, but from the technology standpoint, if you look at the products itself and also the innovations that's happening also with AI, and I kind of count that in, I get your point that it should be inside of Tesla and run there, which would make sense to also have a different angle to it, of course. I think they're going to merge it eventually, but seeing the production numbers and everything, and also the lowering of prices, which I think, coming from Germany with VW here, that said the roof is on fire and kicked out people in some of the plants. In Zwickau, for example, there's a show plant where you can look at your car being assembled and stuff like this. They're going to reduce and you kind of see that nobody can really get the EV besides, of course, the startups. Rivian, for example, of course, and Polestar also does a great job. You're also advocating for Polestar very much because you've liked the product
Polestar,
as well.
I like Rivian, I like Ford, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There are some competitors from Tesla that are...
BMW's new cars are good too.
Yeah, I know what
you got Kia, you got, the Kias, you got the, I'm telling you, I'm seeing the ID4s out, I mean, next year you got a lot of cars coming out too.
Yeah, but based on my analysis, I see that they're going to come out, but I don't see that they're going to be matched with Tesla from the technology standpoint. I think range of 300 miles is totally doable for the rest of the car companies.
There's no tech anywhere like Tesla's. Yeah. None of these companies develop technology. They're now figuring out how to build an EV, but they don't know how to build software.
It's 2023
this is what happened
and
to
24.
Polestar. Polestar comes out with the PS3, which is a great vehicle, and then the software's all messed up. So now we're delayed. That's why I had to exit the stock for now, is because it's just like we're delayed indefinitely until the software works, which is at some point next year, they're going to release the Polestar 3, which will be a great vehicle. But this is where Lucid got destroyed, software, and like, so when you start thinking about Tesla, this is what's so frustrating, because you're 100% right. They're the best car by miles. The fact that you can buy one so cheap is like the best deal in the world. Like, I've never really had major problems with my cars. Now, service has gotten much better than it has been in the past. It's getting better every day. Now there's superchargers in way more locations. It's super efficient. You save a ton of money,
on the horizon,
$5,000 a year. My car is fast as hell. I road trip all over the place with it. I could sell these cars all day. If I was CEO of Tesla, I could sell these cars all day at full price without trying. Okay? And that's where my frustration lies, because there's no strategy to do it other than just lower prices, lower margins, and it's lazy. It's lazy. It's just not putting in the work that it takes to sell a product. Now, car companies spend some of the most amount of money on advertising of any business. And if you turn on any football game this weekend, you're in Germany, so maybe you don't watch American football. But
we have the Super Bowl 2 here. We're going to watch that
at 3
o'clock in the night.
But I know what you mean. Imagine soccer, okay, super popular,
of course.
Right? You turn on a soccer game, you see car ads.
Yeah.
But they're huge advertisers. And so So we have $26 billion in the bank. You spend zero on advertising. You make a small commitment to spend a few $100 million on TV globally, and it'll have a huge impact. There's no doubt in my mind. People
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true.
Just go down the street today and ask 10 of your friends who aren't driving a Tesla why they don't have an EV, and you will hear absurd answers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I also agree there. I come from marketing. That's why I always advocated for marketing and advertising, of course, also for Tesla. I think it depends on the demographic. That's a huge factor. I think the demographic that buys cars actually watches Super Bowl commercials. I think Tesla had a unique point of advertising in that sense. Also, the Cybertruck, in my opinion, has a huge halo effect on the rest of the product categories, of course, because everybody talks about it.
Yeah,
it doesn't even need a branding, for example, because it is the branding. The shape is already branding.
They have right now.
Absolutely. Of course, I get where you come from there. I also agree that to reach 20 million cars, to sell them, they need advertising, and they have to start early to develop the customer over 7 years. The touch points have to be very frequent to kind of get them.
90% of people don't buy EVs at the moment, so you still have 90% of the market to get.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that it's about educating the public. You don't have to advertise classically. You can educate, and also think social media advertising. Yeah, exactly. And I also think they should put out YouTube content. They could do it like an influencer campaign. It doesn't matter. Educate the public. How much does a Model 3 cost in that state, in this state, in that state, with all the incentives going on, for example?
Yeah, maybe instead of like attacking Taylor Swift, he would just pay her to drive a Tesla. You know, like I saw Tom Brady driving his Tesla the other day. He was on some date in Miami with some model, and it was like in Page 6, and it was like him in the Tesla with this model. And I go, this is the best ad for Tesla I've seen in a while. It's like, Tom Brady in a Tesla picking up a hottie is a good ad for Tesla. He drives a Plaid. He drives the same car I have. You know, but I'm like, dude, why isn't he calling up Tom Brady and being like, Tom, you know, like, can we run some ads with you in it? Like, come on, you sold FTX. You can go sell a Tesla. Tom's a huge influencer. He's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's also conservative like Elon. I'm sure they hang out with Trump together. So, you know, just call up Tom. He's a great influencer. He already drives a Tesla, right?
Don't you think that Tesla focusing on their product, just the company, Elon is focusing on different things. He has a greater vision in that sense. I mean, you've seen what was happening with social media. And even we in Europe witnessed censorship here like crazy with
good laws now.
Social media shifted from, I would say, from 2014, 15, it kind of skewed away and certain opinions were censored actually everywhere.
Important. Yeah, that was when profit became important.
Yeah. And the interesting thing there is I think there needed to be a change in some sense. I also don't agree to let everyone speak, because also I'm highly critical of Alex Jones and that also very much. And we've also seen the split in the middle of the societies everywhere. And it's hard to actually see which was behind what and stuff like this, because it's just going on crazy. I think, Russia had also a lot to do.
Media. I don't think our societies are that split. I think it's social media that's attempting to do this. These are the enemies.
Yeah, the algorithms also are.
We're the West. Okay, so like Germany and the United States, we're like the most important countries in a lot of ways. Okay, in Europe and the United States, you know, Germany is the economic engine of Europe in many ways.
Yeah,
okay? I'm sorry, other Europeans, if you want to disagree with me, the facts are the facts. Okay,
I would count France also into that a little bit, but I get what your point.
We're still to Germany.
Yeah, I know.
I like France, but let's be real. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's be real. Take a train in France. Take a train in Germany. Stay in night. Yeah. Okay. And so, like, in my mind, like, this period of time should be very good for our countries, but our enemies, China, Russia, Iran, have figured out how to use social media to divide us. And they've been doing this since about the time frame you started when Trump got elected, right? That was the beginning where they really realized they could drive a wedge in our society. And that's what it is. They've driven this wedge through social media. So I did a test on myself, which is I just stopped looking at it. And all of a sudden your viewpoints change. Because if you actually stop looking at all this nonsense, actual people are not that extreme, you know? Like, I hang out in Texas. I don't have any problems with my Republican friends. Like, I'm a liberal, but I'm not that liberal. I'm not like protesting for Hamas liberal, you know? So it's like, Most people are in the middle. And so what our enemies have done is figured out how to use social to divide us. And then Elon doesn't really realize he's just exacerbating this problem instead of rectifying the problem. Okay? And the way you rectify the problem is you get rid of the extremes. You get rid of them. You don't let them on the platforms, and you let everybody in the middle play in a safe place. And boy, you would have a great platform. But instead, he did the opposite. He let all the extremes back, thinking this is free speech. And now everybody in the middle doesn't want to play. And they're going, they're just going. And
I get your point there. Yeah, absolutely. People who are more in the middle are so fed up with all these extreme discussions as well. And
I don't like any of these people.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So this morning I go on For You on Twitter, and Alex Jones is in my feed. And I'm like, how does this happen? I've never looked at him before. I literally despise this human almost as much as Hitler. And like, he's in my feed. So I tweet Linda Yaccarino, For You, this is not for me. This is to get me to not use your platform. Okay? Who is in charge of this? Oh, it's provoking free thought. I go, no, it's provoking anger. And I'm tired of being angry every time I look at this app. I'm just not going to use it. And the advertisers are gone and they're not coming back. And the next is the NFL, because the NFL contract's up for Twitter and it's like $100 million a year and they're not going to re-sign. And then Twitter's screwed. And Elon goes and says, go f*** yourself.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
I love Andrew Ross Sorkin here.
But go
he's like really confused.
yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
Bob spends a lot of effort.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
You know, I was a communications major in college. Notice his body language there. And you look at the way he said it. He's so defensive. He's just so defensive. And he's got this chip, like this angry chip on his shoulder. And it's really affecting the way he's acting, you know? And like a lot of people were like, oh, this was so anti-establishment to go say F you to the advertisers. And I said, yes, that'd be true if you didn't need those advertisers. Okay. What it really is anger that he's failing. And so he's failing at courting advertisers to this platform. And so he hasn't gotten people to sign up to subscribe. He's not making any money off this. So my question is, how much Tesla stock is he going to have to sell to support this thing? Because he's got $13 billion in debt. And so although us Tesla shareholders might think we're immune to this stuff because Tesla's here and Twitter's here, that's not actually the truth. And that's something that people are going to have to come to terms with next year when he starts selling Tesla stock, because he's going to have to pay these bills. He has no cash. And he raised money from SpaceX again this last week. They keep pushing up the valuation. That's him selling. That's him selling. He needs the money. Okay, $175 billion for SpaceX, which is outrageously high price. So he'll take some of it, you know. And if he can get Tesla stock probably higher, he'll sell some. And that's irrelevant of his comp package selling that's going to come in the next 4 years. And that's my concern as a shareholder, is that you have unlimited overhang of Tesla stock to sell as long as this disaster goes on. So how does Tesla stock go up? So earnings for this year are supposed to be like, I don't know, $3.50 a share, okay? When we were supposed to do $4 last year. And then they've got estimates for next year at like $4. You know, some people are up at $5. But I don't have any idea what they're going to be because they're going to lower margins. So here's my other fear. I'm just being straightforward with everybody. Tesla has the ability to increase production by 20 to 40%. Okay. What happens if they increase production by 30 to 40% next year? Where does the extra demand come from when you don't advertise? So what happens to pricing?
Pricing, I would also
got to come down.
Yeah,
it's got to come down.
I also see that the prices of cars overall are very high, and also see that the inflation isn't as going great.
No, the cost of living is going down right now, not up.
Europe also printed money like crazy. Also, the US printed money. Where does it come from? The money isn't worth anything if they don't lower the
deficits.
No, the
debt
sorry,
or interest rates.
Yeah, the interest rates. Thank you. I was.
No, I know you're German. Listen, your English is great, man. I mean, I studied German in high school for like, my dad lived in Germany for a long time. Actually, my family helped free Germany from the Russians. So my dad was serving in 1961 in Bad Kreuznach, Germany, in the U.S. Army, and that's when they built the Berlin Wall. And so he was there during the Berlin Wall crisis during that period of time in the 60s. And he was helping the U.S., defend Germany for a long time. But we used to go back every year. We'd go back every year. My dad still has very old friends in Germany. And so I studied German for a little bit. I know Germany very well. I used to go a lot. Munich is one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, just as a disclaimer, I'm half American because my mom is American, so I have American background a little bit there. So, but still, I was raised here. I mean, I have English influence. I had all the golden books read to me as a child that impacted me.
American, it does help.
Yeah, of course. But maybe going back to the point, what I wanted to say is with the interest rates going up and everything, I think lowering prices is a good strategy, but this also, of course, raises the pressure for the competition. That means besides Elon saying that he doesn't want to crush his competitors, this doesn't really help, but that crushes the competitors. I think we need cheaper cars, and I think he could take the profits, of course, but I think lowering prices will increase demand substantially, and we have to get to a point where the prices of EVs get lower, in my opinion, and then it can separate between luxury cars and cheaper cars, but the car prices raised over the years, even cheaper cars raised, so we need a new, like the $25,000 Tesla, for example, is very important.
That's the point of the $25,000 car. It's not to take the $50,000 car and turn it to a $25,000 car.
Okay, I get it.
That's not the point. The point is you have a $25,000 car, you have a $50,000 car,
you have a luxury car,
$50,000 car. That is how you do it, okay? Yeah. And they don't have a $25,000 car yet, and they can easily build one in the next couple of years. But instead, they're just lowering prices. And really what they're doing is hurting themselves in another way. And you saw this with Hertz. A lot of people bought Teslas over the last 2 years.
Yes,
and
I know.
Including
leasing
me.
companies. Yeah.
And we've all lost all the equity in our cars, okay? Which makes it hard for me to buy a new Tesla because I can't trade in my car.
That's true.
Okay, because I have negative equity in my car. But I want to buy a new Tesla, but I might as well just drive mine because I lose money doing this, right? And then Hertz goes out, buys 30,000 cars at, let's say, I don't know, $45,000. Now the cars are $40,000, and they have to write down 30,000 times the 5,000 that they lost. So Hertz and all them stopped buying Teslas. They're like, it just doesn't work for us if you lower prices constantly, because the model for a rental car company is you buy it, you drive it for 3 years, and then you resell it. And in the old days, if prices were constant, Teslas didn't lose value. Teslas don't really depreciate. So this is part of the horribleness of this problem, is that Teslas should be appreciating in value, okay? Because actually, if you had constant supply and demand increased, then they would appreciate. But we have an ever-increasing supply, and demand has stayed the same. And we have all the early adapters of EVs now own an EV. So that's part of the problem, which goes into the education issue, right? It's because every new buyer has to be educated, okay? So here's this company, in my mind, that could be killing it right now. Maybe we say a Model Y lowest level should cost 40 grand, no less. And we're going to say our margins will be no less than 18% or 16%. Whatever they decide, they need to draw a line in the sand so that investors know that next year when they make more cars, they're not just going to get whacked with lower and lower price. And as a buyer of a Tesla car, I want to know that if I buy the car in January, that it's not cheaper in March. Okay, there's nothing worse than buying a car and it's $3,000 cheaper in 3 months. And everybody's burned. And everybody doesn't like Tesla because of it. I can't tell you how many people told me that has bothered them. Now, I sold my used Model Y in 21 for $55,000, which today that car is worth like $40,000 or $45,000, irrelevant of the 2 years of worth. And so the guy who bought that car, kind of lost money, and I made money when I sold that car. Okay. But now I've got a Plaid that I'll be lucky to get anything back from if I turn it in for a Cybertruck. And that's what sucks. And so I think if Tesla articulated their strategy, $25,000 car, it's coming in a year or two. These cars aren't going to be less than 40 grand with incentives. That's 25 with 15,000 of incentive gets you to 40,000 in California. Okay. So you're already getting 7,500 off. So it's cheaper than the average car, actually. So I think if the goal of Tesla is to be like Prius, then make a Prius. That's the $25,000 car. But now Model Y is like a Prius. Okay. And what's happened is it's cheapened the value. And that's why my wife's like, I want a Rivian. Like, everybody's got a Model Y, and we live in the Palisades. My wife's like, I want a Rivian. And I'm like, I get it. It's a beautiful car. It's wonderful. It's differentiated. But when your Uber drivers are all pulling up in Model Ys now, you're like, I drive an Uber, Yeah. And that's part of the problem of cheapening the brand. If they cheapen the brand, see, most people think of Tesla as a luxury brand, and brands work very hard to be considered luxury brands. And then you get a premium for
Mercedes,
this. This is Louis Vuitton, right? And so, like, in my mind, now they're bringing down the brand, but by cheapening the brand, they've lost value for all the current owners. And I don't think everybody's figured it out. If there's 4 million Teslas on the road, we've all lost $5,000 or $10,000. You're talking $20 billion of lost money because of all this stuff. So that's the part I think that bothers me the most with this strategy. Is none of it's to the benefit of Tesla owners or shareholders. Okay, and it's only because the owner, CEO of the company doesn't really have a strategy, to be honest, to sell these cars, except lower the price. And then he says, well, it makes it more affordable to more people, blah, 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 then make the $25,000 car.
Yeah, I would say that the strategy that Tesla does is like becoming the VW of EVs, actually.
Really
and
yeah.
I would say that in the short and medium term, it's not a good strategy, like you said, in the sense that the value depreciates for the customer. It's not customer friendly in that sense. Overall, in the long term, maybe it can be fruitful that they push the industry forward to produce more. But I get your point. For the summary, maybe for the end of the episode, give us maybe a little outlook here. I know we have this two baselines that Tesla itself, the product itself, is superb. We have it should be way higher in price, like you said.
The company and the stock, right?
Yeah, but we have the layer of the political side, the fight for free speech that's going on there on the platform. And that also means to have radical people on the platform again, since Elon's opinion on social media is that it should reflect the whole society in the sense that we should move in the context of our laws and don't push it further away of the laws.
It's all fine until people start dying. But when these people incite violence and then the violence happens, then it'll be his fault. And then the internet companies say, oh, we're protected under this law. So, it's just a matter of time till that happens. The Tesla was already threatened once. Elon's saying things online. There's no questions. Extremists are targeting him and out. And that's put a pretty big pall over the whole situation. Now, I want to give some positive and some realistic ideas. So Tesla, the company, is doing great in my mind. Cybertruck's out, technology, full self-driving is pretty good. It could be solved if they really tried, I think. Model Y has become one of the best-selling cars in history. The Model 3 refresh looks great. They need to get it out in the United States. They need a Model Y refresh. Will solve all their problems. Just make the Model Y like a little Model X, like what they did with the Model 3. It's now a little Model S. That's what it is. They moved the tech down. That's fine. That's what you should do. Move the tech downstream, Put the plaid tech in the Model 3. Put the
make a plaid Model 3. Yeah, please.
No, it's the tech. It now has the same technology of the plaid.
Yeah, of course.
It's in the Model 3, and now you do the same thing with the Model X. You refresh it, so there's a reason to buy one, right? Okay, you tell
separate
everybody that this is the last
again.
of price cuts. You tell everybody there will not be another price cut. You just make that clear, and you do not cut prices. Stock will go right back up, and then what you do is you have to have a focus strategy to build your brand and sales. If we're going to sell 2.5 million vehicles next year or 3 million vehicles the year after, because I agree with you 100%. It's one thing to sell 1 or 2 million vehicles a year. To sell 20, you have to be doing major advertising.
Absolutely.
And you have to have multiple models. Okay.
Or multiple halo effects. We need more Cybertrucks.
You got to have the $25,000 car because that's going to sell 5 million. Yeah. You got to have your threes and your Ys. That's another 3-5 million. So like when you start doing the math, they have a lot of work to do. That's the upside, though, is there's so much of it. There's so much upside if they're focused, right? But stocks move based off earnings. And valuations are determined based off what that perception of that company is. So 2 years ago, when we were at 400, the expectation was $4 of earnings in 22 and 100 times earnings. We're the best company ever. Okay, that's what 100 times earnings is, right? We're doubling. That's what 100 times earnings. What we got was none of those numbers. So now we look forward. So what should Tesla be doing? Well, right now the estimates are for $4 again. Now the PE is 60. Which is still very high. So we're at 240. We got $4 of expected earning. We got 60 PE. Okay, now in comparison, NVIDIA is expected to earn $18, and it's trading at 25 times that number right now. And it's one of the most impactful hardware companies in modern time. It's my second largest position. So
makes sense.
When you start thinking about it, you're like, why is Tesla trading at 60 times earnings? Microsoft's at 35 times earnings. Google's at 20 times earnings. Apple's at 30. But maybe Tesla's mature now. Maybe the CEO's not focused. So this is the negative case scenario. This is what this Tony Saganucci just said. Saganacci, or whatever his name is. He says, oh, well, maybe Tesla doesn't earn $4. Maybe they're back to $3. And maybe we give it 50 times $3 or 60 times $3, and now you're at 180. Maybe it's $4 and we give them 40 times $4. Now it's 160. You see what I'm saying? So if multiple compression happens with Tesla because investors perceive the company's mature with an unfocused CEO, this stock is going nowhere. Okay? Unless earnings go to $5.
Yeah.
But if Elon can show the markets, and because the company's delivering, it's not like the company's doing anything bad. If Elon can show and build confidence in institutional investors of his focus in solving full self-driving, getting Cybertruck scaled, maybe it deserves the 60 multiple, and maybe they can get to $5 earnings, and now we're looking at $300 stock, and you got some upside here. But it's 100% related on Elon here. If you start selling stock and he's unfocused, we're not going to make any money. If he's focused, doesn't sell stock, and really gets production up on cyber and gets full self-driving going in the 20, we're fine. We're fine. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And this is why I can sit around on my thumbs and not say anything, right? Or I go on TV and I say what I'm going to say, whether people like it or not, because it's for the benefit of Tesla. It's not for the benefit of Elon. It's for the benefit of Tesla. And I think that's where people get confused. Okay, Elon's not my friend. We don't go out for drinks. He's never, bought me a slice of pizza or anything. Okay. He's a CEO. I have tremendous respect for his accomplishments, but he works for Tesla, and all I care about is Tesla and Tesla's success. And if people don't understand that or don't buy that, that's fine. But that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting what you said. All the things make sense from the investing side here. What impact does that have, the sentiment on your own fund, of course? That would also interest me.
Well, it's a top 5 position for me. It's still our largest position within our firm as a stock. Even though we've trimmed some of it down, we still so much, and we
spread out risk. Yeah.
Yeah. So in my mind, we went from an extremely overweight Tesla. Like for a lot of clients, it was higher than 10% allocation. Like people had made a lot of money. So we're up 100 times our Tesla investment. So, if a client put in $5,000, it's worth $500,000 in that client account now. So for me to trim 100,000 out of that, it's like nothing because the clients made so much freaking money we've made so much money on Tesla. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. So I can sell Tesla till the cows come home and it's still like just chipping away at this massive position that we have. So firm-wide, it's about 4% of our overall assets as an entire firm. We manage about $2.5 billion today. Our position is about $100 million. So each client we have to look at. I think where it is in my fund right now, about 5.5% allocation is where it should be, and that's why it's there. Our largest allocation right now is about 7.5 to 8% to NVIDIA, Microsoft, and MGM Resorts, and Tesla's right behind there with Apple and Google. So our top 5 tech holdings in GK and in my firm, in my fund, it's Microsoft, NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple, Google. So those are 4 or 5. And that's not going to change. I mean, I still think Tesla is way more innovative than all those companies anyways. For me, it's just, my God, it's just like...
Yeah, and you managing a fund, which is, I can assume, very, very difficult. You have to be very focused as well, be there, out there and figure out what's happening. Of course, you don't want chaos, actually. And this thing, all the controversies stir up chaos, and that's, of course, something that no one wants.
That's more a client thing. We manage money in scale. So like I have 12,000 client families we manage. Okay. I have about almost 50 employees. We're an accounting firm as well.
Yes.
So most days nobody calls me. Clients are fine. They might send a few emails a day.
Okay.
But most people don't call anymore. It's like emails or texts or whatever.
Yeah.
And what happens is when he does these things, I'll start getting not only just messages from clients, but all the reporters start calling and emailing too. And it's like Sunday morning, and I've got clients furious about Alex Jones, and then the New York Times is calling, and the Wall Street Journal is calling, and I'm like, what the fuck did he do? It's Sunday. Like, I don't want to deal with this at all. I'm like watching soccer with my kid,
Yeah.
And this is the problem: is it's almost every day. It's something, and clients call, and it distracts our teams, and we have to people hate them, and then we end up having to sell stock for people, or people, or we have to talk them out of doing stupid stuff just because of Elon.
Emotional
it's just
stuff.
It's just not fun. Versus hey, we launched the spaceship, or hey,
I know
Cybertruck. Yeah. See, the only thing people should be talking about right now across the entire media space is the Cybertruck. And that's not what they're talking about. That's
true.
The only video I saw was the Cybertruck being towed out of a hole from a Ford, which somehow got posted last night. And I'm like, where's all the good Cybertruck videos?
Yeah, I get what you mean. This overshadows. The controversies always overshadow the product, and this could be a lot of advertising, free advertising.
Cybertruck, he's telling everybody to fuck themselves the day before.
Maybe you should be the advisor here at Tesla, maybe to be the PR department or the propaganda department.
I've advised them for years. I've advised Elon for years. And for the most part, they've taken my advice up until he bought Twitter. And since they bought Twitter, they don't want. That's not true. Everybody at Tesla loves what I'm saying, and they're all scared to tell Elon. That's what it is. You live in fear if you work for Elon. See, I don't work for him. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I could say the same thing back to him. Go fuck yourself, Elon. What are you going to do to me? He shut off my Starlink. I don't know. Maybe drive my car into a wall. Shit, maybe I should take that back.
I wouldn't assume so, but
I know. He's gonna shut off.
I get you. It's a little joke, but okay.
He might make the doors not open or something.
Yeah. So no, I know you have to jump. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much for doing the stretch a little bit. I just wanted to listen more and don't interfere here with anything. That's why I wasn't so. I didn't want to have a debate here. I just wanted to have your viewpoint on this topic.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I sometimes disagree in many points, but I also agree. Of course, I like the narrative more of a CEO that is more focusing on a bright future, on a happy future, not fighting the evil all the time. And that's just from the narrative side. The storyline isn't inspiring anymore for me, just personally. Right. That's the thing that I see there.
When you watch the space stuff, it's so inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the rockets landing in 2015 was the inspiring thing that for me, that was like, this guy's on a different level. And so I know what you mean. And I also think sometimes you have to be careful of your wording as well. But it's a highly complicated situation as well. I think social media really was a shit show, to say it bluntly. I'm still not sure on my own opinion here, which way to go, to full censorship, to half censorship, to some censorship, to no censorship. I'm not here. It's a difficult topic.
I studied this stuff in school. This is actually what I did do. At UPenn, Annenberg School of Communication, I studied free speech, okay? This is a very, very difficult issue, okay? Everybody says it's great free speech until there's hate speech.
Yeah, until it's radicalization. I also saw that here in Europe as well. I mean,
it's kind of like where these people got in trouble. It's like, what's the line where it becomes radical speech? Yeah. And that line varies depending on the person, And so the fact of the matter today, if we have the most free speech in the world that we've ever had in the history of the world, think about the world just 30 years ago. There were 5 news outlets. Today, we have too much speech. It is not the issue of freedom. There's so much freedom, okay? This is not Saudi Arabia, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
And so everybody has a voice today, and that's the problem. It doesn't matter how radical, crazy, and stupid you are. You might have 1 million followers, So everybody's got a voice. Everybody's got a page. And to act like there needs to be some, vigorous fight for our freedoms here is just not accurate. Okay. Does the governments of the world try to manipulate the media? Yes, they've been doing this forever. Okay. For as long, since they started printing Bibles, you know what I mean? And so yes, we want to try to limit this, and the media's job is to do this. But I don't think that there's a war about free speech that needs to be won. I don't. I think the problem is social media is destroying our children. I think that's the problem. And it's dividing our nations, and it's giving our enemies strength. That's what it's doing. And that's the problem. But when it comes to the real problem of the world today is climate. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. So, Ross, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So please, everybody who doesn't know Ross, of course, everybody knows you here, I think. But check him out, his fund as well. And hopefully we see more on Twitter or on X
well, I still tweet. I'm not quitting Twitter.
Yeah, I know.
At first I was like, I'm just going to quit. But
I know.
No, that's the whole point. It's they try to get you not to speak. And they
different opinions are important.
So much so you don't speak. That's the attack on free speech.
Exactly.
So I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. You can attack me all you want. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. And that's the good thing. We have different opinions, and we can just totally discuss that, and it's fine. And that's what
disagree with me.
Absolutely. Perfect.
I mean, trust me, if you agree with everything I said, I haven't met anybody yet. My wife certainly doesn't. And that's fine. Once again. I love discourse,
absolutely fruitful discourse,
intelligent people. That's how I learned, to be honest, a lot of things.
Of course.
And so, I think that's what we need more than anything else in the world is more listening, not more speech.
I know what you mean. Perfect. And on that note, I think we're going to end it. Thank you very much, Ross, for doing this again. And so there's only one last thing to say to the audience, and that is goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having us.